Good, good. Yeah. You know how much this frustrates me, the system here, because oh, stop the recording. Yeah, I'm gonna just get rid of that window. So we have a clean recording now. We have a clean online conference in sync. We have audio. We have everything set up. And finally, let's see how our cameras are working today. And I'll go over with the preset. Will it take? Okay, so there's no preset there, but why don't we just do it this way? Will the cameras work? No. Okay. But is it because yes, there's movement. So I'm going to preset on, and it's counterintuitive. So it's got to go the other way. That's right. That's right. So I'll preset there. Save preset. So then what we have is we come back here. Nice. We can always go over here. Nice. We come back here. Nice. And everything is essentially working. Lovely. Okay, so microphone good. I'm going to stay here. Welcome everyone to our ninth class of this semester. There are 5 classes left, including today, and that's very important for you to know that number because I'm going to be addressing a new plan I have for all of you that I think you're going to like. I hope. So we are going to essentially have, hi Piyush, go ahead and put your names on board. And for our 2 young students, could you, Omar and Musaf, please go ahead and put your names on the board with your mum, okay? Have you put your name there already, Malate? Have you? Yeah, okay. You are officially on board with us today, okay? So you're part of the class. And we want to welcome right now 2 young men. You will see them walking over right now. There they go. They're the sons of Malale. It's Malale, right? And as I've told you about these classes that we're going to have now over the next 5 classes, 5 weeks, you can invite anyone you like because I think these are going to be really special classes in terms of how we're going to incorporate history as it's unfolding today. But I need to deal with all of that content that I've put into the recorded lectures for you. And so essentially, what I'm going to do in these opening minutes is tell you about a plan, a new option I have for you for your final assignment. And I need to walk you through all of this. Go ahead and put your names on board, and I will bring. I'll leave that up here for now, and then we're going to begin a discussion, and we're going to turn this class into quite the think tank, which is groups at each of the pods taking notes together in and addressing questions and critical concerns around history right now in this world. If you watched the recording of last week's class in another room, you would have learned that I believe that we have a incredible learning opportunity right now, given the tumultuous period that we're going through in Canada. These are truly historic times in this country that is challenging our identity as Canadians in a way that has never been challenged since the formation of the country uh, in 1867 and even earlier than that. So we're going to continue with that idea, and I think that's why you're here today. You have come. Those in person have probably watched the recording or were here in person last week. Certainly, I know Nick was. I remember Nick, and he was here. Santiago was here in person in the other room. Jocelyn was here. Not is it Sean? Yeah, Sean. Here is it? Yeah. And Don't do that, okay? Don't do that because it's just don't be so sensitive. Okay. And so, what I'm going to do at the beginning right now is I'm going to first take any questions that you might have immediately, but I do want to walk you through what um, the rest of the semester is going to look like in terms of this new format and how you're going to be graded and the recorded lectures that have all been posted for you right up until the end of the story, more or less. I just haven't posted the part about evolution and where we may be going in the next few hundred years. But um, you have that. Just stay. It's no, it's the cord, Ron, and it's so sensitive, and I don't want to use that today because it just okay. Just hold on. Don't just stay there. Okay, you can do it. You can do it. So, does anybody have any questions first before we begin this new kind of class, which is going to get pretty, I think, exciting because it's going to be a lot of conversation and no lecturing, although I may give small lectures in my answers, but I've moved the lectures to the recorded lectures. So let's see, in the live chat for the moment, Isabel, if I couldn't make it in person, does joining this meet count for participation? Of course it does. And Isabel, please stay in the class right now online because you're going to understand something new about how participation is going to work. So is everybody ready for me to lay this out for you, explain it, and then we'll talk about it and we can take some notes as well. And probably this class will run on the shorter side. We might try and keep these discussion classes to 60 minutes. Absolute maximum 90 minutes, okay? But somewhere between 60 and 90, we will have these discussion classes. Okay, so then here's my idea. Including today, we have 5 classes left. And I'm going to work on the assumption that we're really working with 4 classes starting next Friday. Okay, for this semester for Short History of the World is a shortened semester. The official end of the semester for all of you is Friday, April the 18th. So that is for us, but the semester is ending at the college on Wednesday, April the 16th. So we have 13 classes in this semester, not 14, because of that end. So the semester is already shortened officially. And because I'm behind on content as well, it's even shorter or at least more packed now because I have a lot I need to give you from the recorded lectures. Essentially, what I'd like to do is I would like to apply for your final assignment, your big assignment, an option that you will have. And first, I want to bring up the assignment sheet itself, okay? Because this will be posted for you uh, later. And I just want you to know that there is an assignment sheet there, and I may refer to it. But the critical thing is that's your most important work. That is the most important thing you're going to do in this class for the whole semester. Your final assignment or your reflection is worth 30% of your grade, and it will be due on Tuesday, April the 15th. So that's an important date. We will review that in a moment. But Tuesday, April the 15th is when you have your big assignment due. There will be a smaller one due before then. That's reflection 3 or assignment 3. The reflections are assignments, essentially. So I use the words interchangeably. So you've done 2 reflections for the first half of the semester. You have a third coming shortly. And then this one is your very big one. It's an essay. And it has many suggestions, and I can explain, but I'm going to add a new option to it that's not in there yet. And that's what we're going to do right now is I would like to make your participation in these discussion classes your final assignment, but it's an option. So let me explain this, okay? Off my head. Is everybody listening. And for everybody in the cosmos, please listen. And for those watching the recording, hopefully you've made it this far with the recordings. You should, because this is really important information. And there will be a PDF made of this. You have been receiving for in person, every time you come to a class, 1.5% if you complete everything for that participation, 1.5%, which is you attend and then you post a question and you get 3 out of 3, and that's 1.5%. I'm going to increase that mark now to 7.5%. Now, watch how this is going to work. If you think I'm not fair or something's not working, I'm consulting you. You can tell me. I've never done this before. These are extraordinary times in Canada, and I want to try something different and extraordinary for all of you. So hold your thoughts until I finish, okay? And then I will explain. Let's take the in-person students, for example, okay? All of you. Each time you come to one of those 4 classes, so I'm going to just speak about the 4 classes starting next Friday, okay? Next Friday. If you come to that class and you complete the discussion post, which will be a little bit longer now, you will receive 7.5%. Now, if you come to all 4 of those final classes and you complete the discussion portion and you're in person, that's 30%. That would be your participation. That would be your final assignment. In other words, if you received perfect marks, 3 out of 3, each time you come for one of those 4 classes, you would receive 100% for your final assignment because you achieved exactly what the criteria said for that assignment. You came to every single in-person discussion class. You went and you completed the longer reflection, which is going to be 175 to 200 words or so. I might even increase it. And you wouldn't have to do the final assignment. It will be done. But if you choose not to come to one of those classes, let's say, Nick, you decide of the 4 classes, I'll come next week, but then the second one I can't because I have to study for exams. I'm going to join it online or I'll watch the recording. Then you have to take 300 words from there, and that's going to be assigned to your reflection at the end. So every time you miss an in-person class, you're going to have something to write a little bit for your final reflection. In other words, I'm giving you words. When you're not here, I'm going to give you something to write for that final reflection. It won't be 1,400 or 1,500 words. It will be 300 words each time you miss one of those in-person classes. So essentially, what I'm doing is I'm saying to those of you that coming to the in person Final Four classes is to your benefit in person, but there will still be extra reflecting. You won't have to do just a question. You're going to have to do a little bit more reflecting about that discussion class, probably 175 to 200 words. So let me make sure everybody understands, because for all of you in the cosmos and elsewhere, of course, for those of you who are just watching the recordings, this doesn't apply to you. You will have to work simply with the assignment sheet, and you will have to do a 1,400 to 1,500 word essay, or you could do a 3 to 5 minute video, or there are other options, or a short documentary. But you will be working with the assignment sheet as it's written. But for this group, and then for the group that's joining us, like Isabel right now and Liam and everybody online, there's now this new option. And of course, if anybody watching the recording decides they want to come finally to one of the in-person classes, then your final assignment is going to be reduced in terms of word count. Essentially, what I'm saying to all of you is what I've been saying from the beginning of the semester, but now it's sort of ramped up a bit. I'm gonna make it worth your while, and I'm gonna reward you if you come to the in-person classes. But now it's gonna even be better for you because you're gonna have the mark applied to your final assignment, and in that final assignment, you're gonna have the new option as well of reflecting on the present history of today and how it relates to the past. Because everything we're gonna talk about now in the next, 5 classes is essentially about the world as it is and the world in the future and how history applies to that. This making sense? I wanna make sure if you have any questions, okay, because this is all coming. I have not posted an announcement about this on DC Connect in terms of this plan. I wanted to bring it to the in-person students first, make sure it's fair, everybody knows, and then, if everything is fine today, we're gonna move forward with this plan. We're gonna put it into the notes, it's gonna be posted, and we're gonna move on. Yes? Yeah? Good, Ron? Okay. There are among you, among the 102 students registered in this course, I have this course over 2 cohorts. 102. It's almost fully booked. It's the limit is 60 and 56 in each cohort, and there's so that would be 116, and there's 102 or 103. Virtually all the students are watching the recordings, and they're liking them. But there's a handful of students, call them the nucleus, the electrons or whatever. They love history and they're also very motivated and they really, really want to understand more about history and what's going on. And they're hungry. And that's you right here. I mean, I've been seeing Nick, I've been seeing Ron, I've been Santiago, Push. I see the other Nick, Nick Reed, Sean, Jocelyn, coming every week, even though she has confessed that history has never been so interesting to her. Um, but now she's saying it's not bad, and she's been doing some great work, some very good writing. So, and then there's um, Jonathan, no, Chris, no, Justin Buss, yeah, Justin, and then it's Albert. Okay, I'm not going to worry about my mind today. Is so. This is good. The fact that all of you are motivated because the discussions now are going to get really interesting. We've had good discussions this semester, but now we're going to take it up a notch because I know that you guys want stuff answered, and I know you have things to say, and I don't have to worry about getting you the content now. Now, the content. Well, the recorded lectures. Where does this all fit in? Well, let's remember something. Every class that we've been having this semester is, in terms of the course outline, supposed to be 3 hours. If you look at the course outline, you will see that these are 3-hour classes. We've been doing 2-hour classes, essentially, every Friday, and then the extra hour for that was the hour I would give you to write your question, which can be done in 1 minute. We're talking light workload, and I know that. It's gonna get a little heavier now, a little bit heavier, but not much. You must remember that what I just said is just about the final assignment. There's still all that 3-hour a week content that has to be dealt with. This hour or hour and a half is just for the final assignment. There's that other content. So you will need to watch about 2 hours a week of content from the recorded lectures. And in your discussion post that you do, the longer one now, you will need to be referring to that content too. I still have to figure out how I'm going to grade that exactly, but I want to be clear for all of you, and I don't think I need to worry too much about all of you because you're hungry for content. I think you all want to watch quite a bit of that because you really want to understand something about our shared history. But for the others out there, and there are a few of you, there always are, who couldn't care too much about history and are trying to find a way to make this as easy as possible, and you think that you don't have to watch those recorded lectures, you will. And I'm expecting you also to be doing more for your discussion posts. So I will explain more about that as well. But the recorded lectures are not there optionally. That's the critical content. This is extra. This is not the class. This is just this extra little thing I'm doing because I really believe that we need to address the world as it is. But there's all that content that has to be dealt with. Okay, Ron, and then we'll go around. I've posted everything there. So you'll see on DC Connect on the content page, there's a folder called Recorded Lectures. And everything is there now for you, going all the way up into the 20th century. I can show you a little bit more, but Santiago? Yes. Yes. And I'm trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to work in the content from here, but probably what I'll do, Santiago, is I'll say the critical content that I expect in those discussion posts will be from the lectures, not from here. Not from here so much. Okay, well, we'll for sure. Good question, Nick. And then, yes, something like that. I will give you the actual list, but let me show you, okay? Because I haven't fully done this yet, but um, forget it. Just forget it. It's for some reason it's the cord. Okay, so yeah, okay, Piyush. So let us now go to DC Connect. And is everybody online with us? Is everybody understanding what I've just explained? If you don't, just put it in the live chat and we'll take it up, okay? So let's go to DC Connect for the moment. And what's happening over there? Nothing for now. Okay. Actually, you know what I will do is I'm going to do this. I'm going to do a little bit of stick handling here. Hold on. And I'm going to come over to, uh, uh, come on. It should be just a second. There we go. Okay, so just give me more. 'Cause in the folder, Nick, everything is there. So I'm going to bring up the DC Connect folder right now, and hold on. So Alt, Control, Delete, is it? Delete. There we are. Control, Alt, Delete. Okay, no action. Okay, so that tech is not working. So we're going to go do a little workaround. Okay, the workaround will be this. We'll just go to DC Connect here, and I'll go to Short History of the World here, and here we are in the content, and here we are in recorded lectures. Okay, so here are the recorded lectures. There's your folder. Okay. Everybody see this. And for those of you in the Cosmos right now, just go to the Class 9 folder on DC Connect and go to the top folder called Recorded Lectures. So here is the entire story. And I'll just address this for a moment. Then I'm going to go to each of the lectures, okay, Nick? But that's what we've been doing this semester is looking at this large planet-wide story of the rise of humanity and civilization and critical forces and critical societies, building towards chronologically the 20th century, which is a time of massive growth and change for humanity. And then I have a final lecture, which I haven't done yet, called Evolution. But everything here, where we begin, the ascent of humanity, civilization, awakenings of power, spells of our God Kings, we've been doing in the first half of the semester in classes, and I've been giving you the content. But now, I've fallen quite behind. Awakenings of Power is still not fully done. I ended with Socrates and his death, but it's very important that you understand what came after him in terms of the Greek Empire, uh, Plato and Aristotle, for example, and the incredible intellectual civilization of Greece. So there will be parts of Awakenings of Power I still want you to watch, but here are the lectures that I recorded during the pandemic. So, for example, let's go to Awakenings of Power. Okay, this is the take a look. This was at home. I came back into the room, but I had a student helping me. I recorded these lectures for a while, and we have the essentially the big board, but it's in different little Zoom squares. And that lecture is about 56 minutes or so, and that will give you the first part of Awakenings of Power. So I'm going to be deciding how many minutes, more or less, or which lectures you should watch each week going forwards so that it totals around 90 minutes to 2 hours of content. Okay? Justin. Probably it's going to be just watch two and then write the discussion post, but I need to finalize that because the timings of these are all a little bit different. So, for example, let's take a look at, let's go back and take a look at when we come back into the room here. Let's come to Spells of Our God Kings, number one. Okay, so there's Cyrus. So this one is, again, 42, 43 minutes. I was generally trying to keep the lectures, each one to about somewhere around 60 minutes, but some of them get into 90 minutes. And that's when I had to split up and call it number one or number two. But essentially, you will be watching two or maybe three each week, Justin, totaling around 90 minutes to 2 hours and writing a discussion post on these. All right. Uh, and students have told me, by the way, that they really like these recorded lectures because they could fast forward. There's a lot of great content. There's so much more interesting content in these lectures than I could have given you in the classes because I go into more detail. And so let's just go to, and I'll show you one more. And I can even run a little bit of it. How about the 20th century? Uh, well, Humanity's Stain is all about slavery and the end of the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade. But there's my favorite, right? Leo Tolstoy and the 20th century. But what I did with these talks is I brought, all my books in or what I could, and I had a wonderful student helping me who was going to be my full-time assistant here. Eventually, that turned into Maureen, and now I've lost Maureen because of financial constraints. So this is the way it's been going for years. Somebody's given to me, I lose them. It's just, you know, it's okay. But fortunately, I had help here, and so I explain and the content, and I'll just show you a little bit, okay? And hopefully, this is going to work. And there will be notes coming on the. So, I'm really amping up the scholarship for you here. You're getting readings. It was my attempt during the pandemic to really try and show what can be done with a multimedia type of lecture. This is like taking TED and going much further with it. That was the idea. I mean, I've given a TED talk already quite a few years ago when I started developing this. One of my students, who's now has a senior position at eCampus in Ontario government, he put on a TEDx at Trent University and invited a few people, and he wanted me to come and speak about the global classroom and what I was doing. So it was a lot of fun, but this was a little experimenting in terms of what we can do with lectures. Okay, so lots of media, lots of content. So essentially, then that is what's there for you right now, going all the way to the end. Okay, and let me just come back and make sure that everybody's clear. There is the story of humanity as I've told it to my students, and I'm continuing to develop this story with new research. There it is. And what you're going to be doing over the next 4 weeks or so is you're going to be watching the recorded lectures, writing discussion posts, and coming every Friday for that final option you have. Every time you come here, you are contributing marks to your final assignment. Okay? Is this all making Nick good? Yeah? If you have any questions, Justin, still let's address these. Malalay, okay? And then we'll come to Nick, okay? And Malalay, take this and then it's on, okay? Go ahead. Good.
I had a question
Sure.
about last week. I came to the class to attend, but there was meeting here, so I was lost.
Um, I
Tried.
guess I meant to get back to you an email. I had posted an announcement on DC Connect. You probably didn't see it. We were in another room, and you should have received an email from the college as well. So, I
No, I
you
haven't.
didn't. My apologies. I meant to tell you, but you, on the homepage of DC Connect, you would have seen an announcement directing you to the other room. Uh, but not a problem. Okay, you haven't lost anything. You haven't fallen behind. You're okay. Okay, good. Um, so I want to conclude this, but I want to make sure you all understand because I want to get to the main part of what these Friday classes are going to be about, which is in large part, what is Canada going to look like in the next few years? What's so historic about this? And you're going to learn today when I talk a bit more about the formation of Canada to help you understand that this idea that the Americans have that they can take us over has been part of our country's history for a long time. It's just Donald Trump is taking this to a kind of another level. And he's talking to the whole world like this right now. Okay, let me just check and see if anybody in the cosmos has anything they would like to say. Oh, that's the other one that wasn't working. So let me just see for a second. Isabel has a question. Isabel, are you able to jump on your microphone and just sort of engage in real time? It just speeds things up. Or or is your microphone
Yeah, I'm here.
oh. Thank you very much. Could you read to us now what you just wrote in the live chat?
Oh, I just wanted to know if your idea about the final assignment and like the participation only applies if you're coming in person.
No, it applies as well if you are participating online like this right now. But
Okay.
you will have to be doing even more reflecting, more work afterwards than the students in person to get your full participation marks for your final assignment. Okay.
Okay, and like what is the difference between like coming to the in-person class?
Well, that's a good question, and let me see if I can give you the answer right now, but I'm gonna sort of think out loud, and we can do this together, but essentially, the way it's been working through the semester is if you're online like this, and you want full participation marks, 3 out of 3 for any class, you have to actually write a full reflection of 175 to 200 words, just like the students watching the recordings. If you don't do that, and you simply just participate in the class without doing that reflection, then you get 1 out of 3. That's what I've been doing. For students who are becoming in person through the semester and they forget to do their question, or they decide they don't want to for some reason, they get 2 out of 3. So in order to get the full marks, Isabel, the full marks, if you're participating like you are right now, which is synchronously online, then you need to be doing a full reflection. And you can, in order to see that and how it has been working through the semester, go to the discussion posts and you will see the description of the criteria. Now, what I'm thinking of doing is for the remainder of the semester, I will be increasing the word count for you online. But the fact is, no matter what I do, Isabel, the ones who will always have the easiest time and the least amount of work will be these students in person. Oh,
Okay.
so you can expect that. That's the general rule, that you come in person, you get on a bus or a bike or whatever, and you take that time to come here now, then you're going to get rewarded for that. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. But you can always email me afterwards as well if you have any questions, because I'm kind of developing this as I go, and I always consult the students finally.
Okay.
Yes. Anything else?
Yeah, I just have the flu right now, so I couldn't make it in person today, but I'm gonna be
Okay.
there next week.
Great. Well, enjoy the class. Watch it now like a television show if you want. You don't have to participate. Just stay online because you're going to see your classmates with some very insightful things to say and some motivated, smart classmates who care about the world. Okay. So,
Okay,
um,
great.
and um, and as you know, if I haven't said it already, I had a long background in television and journalism and did television documentaries and series. So I kind of know what I'm doing here. I've created a television studio and we're broadcasting education. You may have felt that already, but there's a method to this madness. And that way, we can make education so exciting and interesting, I hope. Because all of your voices, including mine, should be heard by the world. You are the next generation. And your children and grandchildren. And then we have back behind Malala, we have even the next generation just waiting to step in and push you guys aside and say, we're ready to take things on. But the fact is, what you have to take on in the future is unlike what a lot of your ancestors have had to face in terms of the complexity of the world. And then most importantly, and this is, Isabel, where I think you'll find these Friday classes fascinating. We are in the midst in Canada right now of redefining what it means to be Canada. Our best friend, the United States, is no more. That's a very new reality for the world, okay? So we're going to really work on this and see where history can help us. So can we conclude this? Does everybody feel they understand what's coming? And if you have any more questions, you can always shoot me an email. But now I'm going to come over and I will we'll get the notes up here in a moment. I'm not going to worry too much about tech and all its problems. However, I do want this, okay? I do want this. We must have that in front of us at all times. And if we could have the planet, we would as well. We have 3 microphones. And 2, we have 2, yeah, and then I have the third. So I'm going to have to hold on to the third. So we now have finished reviewing what we're going to do for the next 4 weeks or so, 5 weeks. Now we're going to start. So where do we start with this voyage that we are now embarking on? Imagine we're all together. The little boat, the tugboat, or something bigger than that is leaving port now, and we're going to go on a voyage over the next weeks, trying to understand and explore what is our future going to look like, and what is the world looking like now. Um, you start. I would like any one of you to lead with a question or a comment or anything you would like to know. And the idea is this: you should be free to bring anything you want to these discussions. They'll go in any direction that you feel they should go in. But I hope that you will come out of these discussions with a better understanding of how history applies to the world today and tomorrow. That is missing from the recorded lectures. That's the story in the past. Now we're talking as much about the present world and the future. But if you decide you want to know more about the past, it's up to you. You take it where you want to take it. You are steering this boat. But we are now entering uncharted territory together. I've never done this with a class quite like this. And the only thing you need to keep in mind is we are living through history today in a way that we haven't. So, let's see. You think. I'm going to get the boards and get them ready in a moment, because we're going to get you up around the boards in a moment. But think about, great, we've got that. We've got that, and I'll bring this up over here, and you're allowed to participate too if you want, okay? You're absolutely welcome to, because you are going to be over there in next year. Okay, or, well, okay, so Omar and Musaf, right? Musaf? Yusuf, okay. Yeah, there we are. Yusuf, exactly. Okay, so, yeah, got it. Okay, so let's bring, and then we'll bring 4 up here, and then eventually we're going to have up here, we're going to have that going too, but for now, let's keep that going. So there are pens over there. Soon we're going to have how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So we could do 3 groups of 5, but we'll start in a moment, and we'll end 12:30. We can go to 12:45. Okay, we can, but we can end a little bit earlier. I would love it if one of you went over to the board over. Just a second. Is it 4? Right behind you, and wrote in really big letters a question that you think we need to address. Or in the live chat, you can start asking questions. If not, I can talk. You know that. But what I like is I'm looking at people now who are thinking. They have not disappeared into their devices. They are in the moment. That's great. A question. Are any of you worried? Ron, yeah? Worried? Santiago, are you a little concerned? We started to talk about this last week in the other room. Remember, I brought over my knapsack, I showed you my flag, but we're going to continue this now. Ron's a little worried. Santiago? Yeah? Yeah. Although I remember from last week, you said you have a background, in politics to some extent, and you even said you have nowhere to go, like you're here now, and you don't want to go back to, was it Venezuela? Yeah, Caracas? Yeah. They've had a lot of political turbulence, and in fact, doesn't Caracas have a president who's kind of like Trump? He's worse. Wow. Really? Okay, well then let's orient ourselves a little bit to this for a moment. Venezuela, take a look, South America, and we have right here in the map, Venezuela is right up in this area, right here. Here's Canada, is Venezuela, and we have a student who's just said, there's a leader there who seems to be even worse. I'm not going to say anything yet because there's a lesson from history that's kind of depressing, but I'm going to wait, okay? So you're a little concerned. A little concerned about what's happening? Let's see. Nick? Yeah, okay. Justin? Yeah. Sean? Sean's other half? Yeah, okay. And the second, Nick. Nick Reed. Concerned? No. Nick's not concerned. Okay. Okay. Let's get somebody starting on the notes, okay? And we need somebody today who really can write clearly. And they can go to Ron, but he's been doing a lot of work already. But we need to start writing some things down. So I'll write it, okay? I don't mind. I'll come around here as long as everybody can hear me and you can see the live chat if there's any action there, okay? And it's over here. We are living in historic times. Do you know that there's a difference between the word historic and historical? Historical just means of history. Historic means unprecedented, history making. I didn't write historical. I wrote historic for a reason. So, what's historic about the times? Why are we having this discussion like this? Santiago? Yeah. What hasn't happened before? Okay. What's happening? Nick? The United States is, let's say we'll use this verb bullying, but countries do that to each other. It's not unusual for one country to bully another, but bullying is a strong word, but we'll use that for the moment because bullying is something that a lot of people are familiar with online today. People get bullied, people get pushed around, and worse. The United States is asserting its power in the world in a way it never has before. It's telling everybody what to do. And what's the result? What seems to be happening? Justin? It's getting pushback. Absolutely. So let's make sure we understand what's history making about Canada and the pushback and the United States, because we're Canadians here. And I would like to have a definition for all of us going forwards, unless you want to take this another way, of what exactly is historic for Canadians. We're Canadians here. We live in Canada. So what should we be writing? And let's try something. Justin, could you go over to that second one, okay? And watch what I'm going to do. I think I can do this today. We're going to have a little bit of fun with this. Go to the second one. That's going to be yours. And I'm going to do this. Yeah. The pen is to your right. Yeah? Okay. Just write down Justin's notes. Justin's notes. Okay? And if you need to be slow about it, it's okay. Justin's notes. We need to help Justin write down what is the history-making moment in Canada that we're living through right now, and then we can begin to explore that. What exactly is historic? Not historical, historic. Let's get Ron a microphone, okay? Do you want to give Ron a microphone, okay? What's historic? You can just listen, Justin. We'll help you, okay? Yeah.
America is engaging in a trade war with Canada to a proportion that they never have in the past in a bid to annex the country, essentially.
Ah. America has said it would like to annex Canada. That's what Donald, and America right now is Donald Trump. He was elected in a democratic election in a representative government. We're not going to address whether he should be there or not as a result of his claims that the last election was stolen, which is not true. That is a fraud. It has been shown to be that in multiple court cases. However, the voters accepted it. They don't believe the court cases and the journalists and everybody else. They think they're wrong. They're right. There was no fraud. So he was elected. He was elected. Yes.
And that is why I had a question that should a free thinking individual of good conscience worry about saving themselves or saving the world when the world continuously shoots itself in the foot?
Well, let's explore that for the moment, but let's make sure about shooting yourself in the foot or being self-destructive. Donald Trump, the American president, elected by a slim majority. There are 350 million people in the United States. 76 million or so voted for him. A lot of people didn't vote. So he doesn't represent everything, but he does. He won the election. So he's the United States right now, for better. He's the voice. He's the face of the United States. And he has said repeatedly that Canada should become the 51st state of the Canada should join. Well, that US wants to annex Canada is absolutely historic. But it's not entirely new, but it's historic in terms of his desire to take on all of Canada and make it a 51st state. But in history, we have had other conflicts where the US wanted parts of Canada. And I can talk about that later. But this is a scale. The scale of this is absolutely historic. Yes. War of 1812. You want to go back even before the War of 1812? The American Revolution. Do you know that in 1775, from 17 to 1783, is when the American Revolution took place? That's when the United States, consisting of 13 colonies on the Atlantic coast, New England, Pennsylvania, Virginia, all of these were colonies. They declared in 1776 their independence from the British monarchy, and then a war was fought. During that time, George Washington, check your history, George Washington, the leader of the American forces that defeated the British, the first president of the United States, he spoke about Canada becoming the 14th colony. The Americans then were saying to what was then Upper Canada and Lower Canada, it wasn't all of Canada yet, Confederated Canada, join us. Join us. But not only join us, they had a military force that began to move towards Montreal then. It wasn't just talk. It was a military force that began to be pushed back. So it's not just the War of 1812. You go back even further to the formation of the United States, and they were looking to us to become part of them. So, why should we even be worried about this? I mean, why don't we just join them? You know, if you believe that the most important thing in life is to make a lot of money for yourself and be really successful, and most of us have a dream like that to some extent. The United States is will make a lot of money. Maybe Canada will become richer. You know, maybe we will all be driving Teslas and they won't be that expensive. We'll all be using X and we'll all be putting implants in our head from Neuralink. And anyway. So, why not?
Because it'll satisfy America's greed even further and incentivize them to look at other countries to occupy them, and it would set off what is essentially a colonial cycle.
Ah,
Manifest destiny, you know.
exactly. There's a lot there. When you watch the recorded lectures, you're going to start to see something called colonialism and imperialism. And I'll let you think about that for now, but pay close attention to the recorded lecture called The Conquest. Close attention, because that's the time, if you look at the map of the world right now, in the 1400s, the late 1400s and 1500s, largely around the figure of Christopher Columbus, but there were many more, 1492 specifically, the people from Europe, which is everything east of the Atlantic Ocean, so we'll call that Afro-Eurasia. You know, it's all one landmass. Africa is connected to Europe as you go up through Egypt, and you have the Suez Canal in there, and you get into the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. You can walk. It's connected by land. So Africa is connected to Europe. It's connected to Asia by land. So that's one landmass. We call that Afro-Eurasia, and that's the Eastern Hemisphere. And then everything west of the Atlantic Ocean is the Western Hemisphere, and that's the Americas. Well, the conquest is when Afro-Eurasia met the Americas, when the Western Hemisphere and the Eastern Hemisphere came together, largely through Christopher Columbus and others. And you will see what really happened when you watch that recorded lecture. The imperialism, the sense of superiority that the Europeans had, the Catholic Church that believed that all the indigenous peoples in this part of the world should become Catholic or Christian. And if they didn't, they're savages. You can kill them, give them diseases, get rid of them, liquidate them. They're not human. So Ron's point about imperialism and colonialism has some connection to history, which is when empires get big, they start to exploit, take advantage of, and oppress others because that empire believes it's the best. It's the best. And let us not forget that the United States, through the voice of Donald Trump, believes it is absolutely the best at everything. Everything. But it goes deeper than that because there's a big system propping him up that says the United States is an exceptional country. It's the world's biggest democratic superpower, so it's special. It should be able to do whatever it likes. That's coming out of his mouth. It's not just him, it's the culture and the system that's been built up about the United States having this exceptional role to play for humanity. So, in a way, Ron is saying, we become part of that. We got to take that on. We're going to start to feel that way. Do you want to feel that way? You want to be part of a culture that says, you know, we're the ones who really are the freest. We're the richest. We're the smartest and the strongest. Everybody else should become part of us. Would you like to be that? So Ron has said, Justin, let's try and summarize for a little bit. And maybe we'll do this, okay? Just to get everybody moving around. Let's get the 5 groups going around the screen so you guys can interact with each other, all right? And then I can help you. So for now, Justin, you'll anchor the group over there, and we'll put 4 people around you, okay? And we're going to include our lovely young guests, okay? So, Omar, would you go and join Justin over there? Which one's Omar? Joseph? Omar? You're going to join his group, okay? Ron, could you go over to number 1, the screen number 1? And Yusuf, could you join Ron over there? Yes, that's number 1, exactly. And Justin and Omar are on number 2 right now. And then we're going to have number 4. And why don't we put Santiago? You go ahead and we're going to build our groups around them, okay? Because we need to understand why we shouldn't join them. Or maybe we should. I don't know. I'd like to see you really think about this. I have one bit of information to give you when we do this, and then I'm going to let you continue, but something you definitely need to hear. So now, could you join him? And would you join him as well? Okay. What's your name again? It's Jaylee. Okay, Jaylee, thanks. Jaylee goes over there. We're going to gradually build this so there's a mix. Jocelyn, could you go over with Justin and Omar? Yeah. Great. Okay. Nick, could you go over there, please? Malale, could you go over there as well? Make sure we have a good balance of female and male to some extent. So we've got, and then why don't we have, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Would you be able to go over with that group over there? Great. And the rest of you, the 2 of you go over there. You go there. Sean, you go there. Nick, you go there. Okay. Excellent. Okay, and I will give you microphones momentarily. And for those of you online, I will talk to you in a moment. Here's what you need to do over the next 15 minutes. And then we're going to take this up and we're going to conclude the class. Is there any other question that you would like all of us to address besides this one? If not, I'll have you address this question. Why shouldn't we join the United States? Why shouldn't we become the 51st state? If you feel there's another question to ask, we can do that too. But I'd like all of you, each of the 5, to work on trying to answer that question in the affirmative or the negative, and then make notes on there. And in your notes, as you do that, could you please try and make historical references when you can from the content in the class or any other reference? Justin? No, you can leave that for now. You can leave, yep, because you're there. Just carry on with that, okay? That's Justin. So Santiago's group, Justin's group, and Ron's group are right here, okay? Any questions? Other than that, I'd like you to start working on why shouldn't we become the 51st state? Let's hear what you have to say. Go ahead, guys. Okay, online, in the cosmos, for those of you who are still with us, Ethan, Akmal, Liam, Aaron, and Isabel, I would like each of you to start filling up the live chat with your thoughts on this, answering the question. And I'm going to write this down for you in the live chat. Okay, hold on. I'm going to put the microphone down. Okay. So the question we are all answering together right now is this: why shouldn't we become the 51st state of the United States of America? Okay? And I see a new message. Yeah. So there you go. Start giving us your insights. If you decide one way or the other, it doesn't matter. As long as you can explain the reasons and as long as you can make reference to history and how history can help us to answer this. Isabel, does that make sense? Okay.
Yes.
Liam, does that make sense, what I just said? I'm gonna make sure you, let's see. Great. Okay, thanks everybody. I'm just checking my microphone too. So keep faux democracy, no real choice. Good. Loyalty to the king. That's right. Yeah, well, keep going and try if you can to write in complete sentences as if you were writing a proper reflection. That will make it easier for us to take up and talk about. Okay? So, complete thoughts. Please write in complete thoughts. Complete thoughts. Okay. And let me just see what's happening elsewhere. The microphone is down. This is good. Trump, he is not a good leader and is full of hypocrisy. Like, good, Ethan. This is your time to really think about the world as it is and the history we're living through and how history can teach us or guide us. Ethan, in history, in terms of what you have seen so far in short history of the world or your knowledge of history, is there an example that you could give from history that can help us to understand what you just said? Think historically, okay? Try to think historically in your answers. Good, Isabel? Good. Okay. So I'm going to just show you the rest of the class for the moment so you can see what's happening here. And to do that, I need to go to here. So there you go. So everybody can see what we have going. That's happening over on 1 and 2 right now. You can see that. And then if I move this a little bit, you will see. Oops, that's goes the other way. Okay, so let me just you'll kind of get an idea of what's happening. I might be able to switch the. Yeah, okay. I don't want to mess that up. So we'll come back here, and then I'm going to change the camera angle for a moment. I'm going to come over here. And good. Healthcare and stuff would be excellent. Keep going. Yeah. Yep, you got it. If you need me, I'm here. But this is your time to really think through together. You're living through this time, guys. It's really important you think this through. Way to go. That's good, Joseph. And you can, if you have any questions, you don't understand what's going, ask them. They will explain. You're living in a very unusual time, and you need to be smart now. Okay. Well, okay, you're not. You're not. But some people, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Good. That's right, Liam. We have never been a part of the U.S., but boy, it's gotten close at times. Liam, some would make the case that culturally, in so many ways, from the movies we watch, the books, the music, the video games, we are very American. What do you think of that, Liam? That your mind, in some ways, is very American. The last television show, the last video game, the last song you listened to, the last pair of jeans you bought probably came from the United States originally. That tells us something about how we are in some ways very American, Liam, but
but we're different. How do you think we're different? Liam, we've never been part of the US. So, what would you say makes us different? What makes Canada different? Okay, excellent. Okay, I'm going to bring up. Let's see, Isabel, nice. We do not need to combine our countries to give one single leader what he wants. He is actively creating terror forces as our country in an attempt to get what he wants. This is not a good start. He's actively destroying us. Wow. Isabel, does that come straight out of your head? Or did you have ChatGPT help you?
No, I just wrote that. My sister lives in New
Isabel?
York right now.
Think about that. I'd like to hear your answer. That's some good thinking there. I hope it came out of Isabel's head and not a machine.
No, it came right from me. My sister lives in New
Great.
York, and she's going to school there, so she's kind of dealing with it like firsthand.
Good. Everybody, way to go. We're going to save all of these notes for everybody. So, what you're writing is important for the rest of the class, okay? Don't forget, the notes that are being written on the board right now by all three groups are going to be available to everybody. Now, let's see if I can get another view. If I switch the camera, let's see what happens here. No. Oh, oh, isn't that interesting? That's popped up. That's been fixed. What's happening there? Audience camera left. Okay, out. If I zoom out, there we go. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Look at that view. So I'll get rid of this for the moment. We don't need to see the folks there. I'll let the live chat go. So now we have a really nice view. Okay. Okay. Excellent. Look at that. That is beautiful. See, this is the global class. The global classroom. People are thinking. People are thinking. Terrific. Okay. Good. Way to go. We see everybody thinking it through. And we can even bring in the live chat. Okay? So let's see what's happening in the live chat. Constitution versus Charter of Rights. Good point, Ethan. Differences in. Okay, so let's drill down on this a little bit. What's the difference between a constitution and a charter of rights? Aren't they both dealing with the same thing, which is the rights and freedoms, liberties and responsibilities of all citizens? We might be dealing with the same, just different wording. Or do you think there's a difference between our constitution or their constitution and our charter of rights? Because our constitution deals with rights and responsibilities. Okay, great. Okay, so wow, look at this. So we've got a kind of a class, all visual up here. Why don't we start moving the microphone around, and I'll bring in just a second the folks here. Okay, so there's Ethan, Akmal, and others, and we have two. So let's go around, and we'll start with. We'll move these microphones around and start telling us what you've written. Okay, and Justin, this will be yours. And I'll get you this in a moment. I need to keep one for myself. Although, what I'll do is I will, I'll get this working. So go ahead, okay? So it doesn't make all sorts of sound. So, yeah, here we go. Go. Joseph?
Well, he
Joseph
pointed
wants to
it
read
out.
this? Give it to Joseph, okay? Joseph, go ahead and read that.
Culture difference between US slash Canada. In terms of history, present social working conditions healthcare, human rights, not a bully, not a business, not nice, bullies, racists.
Go on. Way to go.
Do not cave to thieves.
Wow.
Economy built in slavery.
Can we give our wonderful guest a little hand? Joseph, how old are you?
I'm 10.
Wow. Okay, there's the future, folks. There's the future. Okay, so Joseph, would you like to try and elaborate on any of those particular points, as in what is not nice about what's happening in the United States and what makes us in Canada maybe a little nicer, or I don't know. Could you tell us more about what you think?
I think that Donald Trump is very rude and does not like Canada because they're telling us to join, but we don't want to join them.
Huh. Wow. Um, it, why don't you give the microphone to somebody else and see what they think too in your group? But unless you have something more you'd like to say about this, is there anything you'd like to tell us? Since the United States might be important to you because the cap that you're wearing, that's not Toronto Blue Jays, is it? Huh. So I guess the United States is kind of important because the culture is right on top of your head. What do you think of that, Joseph?
Um,
Justin, could you say that into the microphone so people can hear you?
Yeah, sorry. So what I was saying is just because the US's culture is important doesn't mean that our culture isn't important.
Is unimportant.
Yeah, is unimportant.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we can all deal with multiple cultures, can't we? We're kind of grown up, aren't we? We can handle many good cultures. We don't need just one good culture, do we? We can handle many. That's called diversity, and we're okay with that, aren't we? Or maybe not. Mm. Ron?
Well, for the time being.
For the time being. Well, let's keep going around, okay? Because I think there's some really great courage of all of you to be part of this experiment we're having in education today. You're all in it, and come on in, Ron. Go ahead, Malala. Is there anything you want to say? And then we're going to make sure we have everybody. Then we're going to conclude. Yes.
I have worked in Canada since age of 16, and I have never been treated different. And I feel like I was in my own country. I never feel that I was away from my country, and this is making me to be so proud to be a Canadian citizen in this country. And I love this country, and I never feel any racist, any disrespectful, any culture difference, or even I had like no lots of language errors.
Yes.
They have always tried to fix, but I have worked in the US
You have worked in the U.S. Okay. Yeah.
and I have been a travel agent for the United Airline, and even the airline, the people who were CEO, they invited me as a. I was a student there, and I graduated, and I went for placement. They have hired me for a job. For the few months, I was treated really nice, but after I have seen so much differences, like my schedule has been changed because they said, "Oh, you're young, you can do it." And I thought maybe that's why they have been giving me my shift was
Sure.
when there was staff meeting, I had to stay away from everybody because I was not citizen, but I was part of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Want to use me
Mhm,
like
mhm.
I feel a lot of differences.
Yeah.
And when I was going through security, like because the other people were staff.
Yeah. Hold this like karaoke so they can hear you clearly. Yeah. When you were going through security, what happened?
Yeah, we had to go through the security as employee because of the safety of the airport. Um, there was separate gate for other employees that were U.S. citizen, and my last name was Mohammed. So they were basically asking me to. We had a uniform that had a jacket during winter time, and they were asking me that you have to remove your jacket, you have to leave your phone. Like I had to get different treated as different.
Yeah.
And that time I knew that there is
Something different.
something different.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
even though I had owned a green card from United States and I was sponsored to the US because my brother-in-law was a captain for United Airlines, but even before that,
Oh, you were still facing this.
I wanted to give
Yeah,
away
yeah.
my green card, and I lasted 1
Interest-
more month and give them a
So it's fair.
to leave the country.
Is it fair for me to say that you are Muslim?
Yes.
Yeah. So you were at that moment you were feeling like your Islamic culture or your Islamic
Yeah.
is being somehow singled out.
Yeah.
Yeah, we call that in Canada
So
racially profiling.
I feel so weird that the same employee walking together and they ask him to use different, not even a scanner. They ask me that you have to take off your shoes. I had to be treated like totally different.
Mhm. You feel a little bit humiliated. Yeah, a little bit. Let me stop you for a sec because I want to make sure everybody has a chance. Although we're going to continue next week, we're just starting something here, so I don't want to cut you off, but I want to make sure we at least have some others. Let's try another. Is there something you want to say? Let's let's go over here for a second, okay? Can you you have the microphone there, okay? And let's see if we can see. Make sure we can see you here, and we will if I do this. Hold on, and then on the recording, it'll be nice. Yeah, there we go. A really big view. So, what's the most important thing that you wrote down there in terms of your answer to the question? What would you say?
Well, we brought up the point why waste Canadian history. Like we fought for all of our rights and freedoms that we have, right? And through even fighting with the states through wars and stuff, right? We've still had individual successes that have brought us to where we are as a country.
Yes.
And we brought up the point why should the states have domination over not just us? Like if the states was to take Canada, what's to stop them from wanting more?
Oh, very good. What's exactly? By the way, I have something to tell you that might be rather interesting for all of you. Last night, I happened to watch a remarkable interview with a 101-year-old gentleman named Richard Romer, the honorary lieutenant general in Ontario, or maybe Canada, not sure which. Have any of you heard the name Richard Romer? Ooh. He wrote a series of books 50 years ago on a military invasion of resource-rich Canada by the United States. And he imagined 50 years ago that we would be facing something like this now, except he went further in his books. And he imagined a military occupation. Have any of you thought that this could turn into something more violent and more hostile? And that if it could, what would you do? We're just imagining. But last night I watched for 20 minutes, 101-year-old, remarkable gentleman, 101 years old, Omar. Can you imagine 101 years old? Okay. Joseph, 101 years old? I can barely imagine it. And he was answering questions and he was talking about his book. So, what do we do? Does anyone want to try and address that question of how we would handle that? How you would Brian, come over. Is there someone in the chat? Okay, just a second and see if there's anybody in the chat, and then we will start to conclude. Oh, that's good. Okay, we'll come back to that in a moment. Thanks, Isabel. Has Ron has, and I think I touched on this last week a bit, but I was blown away last night. 101-year-old, great condition. He's known many American presidents. He flew a plane in the Second World War. He was even involved, apparently, with the assassination of one of the great German generals, Rommel. And he was talking about, well, this is what it would look like if Canada had to face a military invasion. Troops. Okay, So who wants to address this? Really talk about what you would do. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen. This is a book that was written, a series of books. One's called Ultimatum. You can look it up. Richard Romer. Fascinating. But let's take a little leap for a moment and imagine this. As a Canadian, what would you do? You could be a Ukrainian facing the Russians coming in, as they did. And Volodymyr Zelensky at that time was told, get the hell out of there. And the Americans were going to take him and help him. And he said, I want to stay. So many Ukrainians were facing something similar, which is, we're being invaded. Who would like to address this? Actually try and answer, what would you do? It's a very hard thing to think about. It would be irresponsible of me as your professor ever in a discussion to not use this classroom to think about everything. Everything. So you can think, and that's what we do. We have to think of different scenarios and be ready. We were not ready for 9/11. Everybody said, oh my God, look at what these planes are doing in New York. You mean they came out of the sky and the towers are falling? Oh my God, nobody saw this coming. Well, people did. They just didn't talk about it. Things can happen. So what are we going to do? Okay, let's see. I have to get my glasses. Okay. Okay, in this, we're still talking about Trump and about his business. That's fine. That's good. We're going to save this. But I would love to hear your answers to this. Okay, let's get the microphone to Ron, and then we're going to conclude, okay? We will pick this up next week. Ron, what would you do as a Canadian citizen if it started to look like the American military, which does have a plan for invasion of Canada, carried that out?
I would hitchhike and roam aimlessly.
you get out of here. Would you hitchhike in Canada aimlessly, or would you leave the country?
Leave the country.
Leave the country. Okay.
Don't know where I'd go. Don't know where I'd be, but I'd be alive.
You don't want to be part of a war.
No.
I think anybody can understand that. But you might not have a choice. You might have to, but you'll be too old. You wouldn't fight. They would look for people in their teens. It might even be, well, we're not going to talk about the younger people. Do you want to say something, Joseph, about this? You're okay? You've already been very brave. You've used up all the bravery in this room. You have it, okay? Let's hear one. Nick, do you want to try? I know you're going into law enforcement. So the law becomes the American law. Do you just obey? There's a new law in town. Or will your training as a police officer, and maybe even more maybe you're a detective by then, who knows where, but your training is, you don't challenge authority. You just follow what you're told. Will you do that? Just follow what you're told? Do you want to give him the microphone? Yeah.
Who am I to fight the system? I'm just one individual. If everyone else goes, I don't think one person really matters in this whole grand scheme of.
You are completely wrong. And I'm going to give you an example from history to prove it. First, the fact that you're willing to share your thoughts on something, and I know this is not comfortable in some ways, and I've just said you're completely wrong. I'll give you one example. Do you know that there was a Russian submarine commander in the 1960s during the Cold War between Russia, the Soviet Union, and the Western world? And we here in North America discovered that the Soviets had put missiles onto Cuban soil facing United States and Canada. It's called the Cuban Missile Crisis. And at that time, there were Soviet submarines that had nuclear warheads on them that were gathering around Cuba, waiting for an order from Moscow to fire if they had to. And for 13 days, the world waited with great anticipation and fear. Was this going to escalate into a third world war, nuclear war? It didn't. You know why? One reason why? One small reason why? The commander of the Russian submarines, he was a commander of 4 of them. He said he would not follow an order from Moscow. He said he would not fire those warheads, even if he were asked. Even if he were asked. And when he went back to the Soviet Union, to Moscow, he became considered a traitor. He lived a life that was not so comfortable, but now, today, he's considered a hero because he actually decided to do what his conscience told him to do instead of what the authority said. It's an amazing story, and it is true. So one person can make a difference.
Yeah, one person with high amount of power. You said he was a commander. What'd you say he was?
He was a commander.
He was a commander. Yeah. Who
You-
am I? Who am I compared to a Russian commander?
You stay in law enforcement, you may become a supervisor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But right now I'm a college student. You know, like I can't really argue with anything. Like,
Well,
like,
fair enough, fair enough. I understand. But my point still makes sense as I explained it to you, that if you had authority
if I
and
had
you were in a
authority.
position of, and you were working in law enforcement, you still could defy the law, the decision of somebody above you, because your conscience says this is wrong.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. If you got high power, yeah, being the person that presses that button, yeah, that's a big weight
Yeah.
on your shoulders, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not like I'm just trying to get into this.
Well, I know, but
But
it's
you're right. If I could see in the future, if I had some power and I knew that my decision had a lot of impact on everyone in the world, obviously, yeah, I would probably not sleep and think about that.
you would think about it.
You know what I mean? Like,
I hope you would, but
not sleep.
you would be doing it at the risk of making all the men around you and the women think you're a traitor. You haven't followed orders, and that would take great courage. Take great courage.
But he knew what he was signing up for when he took that position. Like he had, like, if you join the military for a nation, you have to think, okay, nation come, like my country.
Yeah, come first. That's
So
right.
They think he's a traitor because he signed up for it.
Yes.
He wasn't willing to do what he signed up for.
Yeah. But he didn't want to kill so many people if he had
But
to.
why would he even take that position? Why is he in the military as a commander if he didn't want to kill somebody?
It's a great question. I don't know. Yeah? It's fair. Okay.
Just wanted the title.
Okay. I just want you to think. Let me just stop for a second. It's 12:45. We should end. I want to ask all of you first, okay? Would you like to continue this next week like this? Yes? You have all today, you're going to earn some percentage today to your final assignment. It's not the 7.5% that's going to start next week, but I'm going to make it worth your while. It's going to start today. Okay, something. I'll tell you next week. But starting next week, you come in person, you do the discussion post, you're getting 7.5% of that 30% for your final assignment, and you do it for all 4 of them, and you write the discussion posts, and you get 3 out of 3, you're going to walk out of this course with 100% for your, I should say, final assignment. I still have to measure that against everything else you've done, but you're going to get 100% on your final assignment, and that's going to take your grade up to a nice place. Yes.
Discussion post. You just have to do a question or the whole discussion post.
I'm not sure. I got to fit. I'll post it on PC Connect this weekend. Okay. For now, you don't have to do anything. Okay. But I'll let you know. It's really going to start next week with the discussion posts. All right. It's starting next week. Yeah. This week I'm going to do something though that's going to make it worth your while. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. And for those of you online, thanks. I'm going to take this up next week, Isabel. I'm saving the live
Thank you,
chat
sir.
and all the notes. Way to go. I'll see you next week. And
just a reminder, everyone here, make sure you actually write your name down.
Yep.
So that way he knows you're here.
Exactly. I want to make sure because that's critical. I may If I don't see your name there, I have too many students, I'll forget. Okay, I've got to first do a few things before I can talk to anybody. So first I got to save the live chat. And I have to stop the recording, which is really, really important because I messed up earlier this week. Recording.